It is no secret that we are in the middle of a huge civil rights movement. And one of the many consequences of that is that more and more of us, more and more consumers are voting with their dollars and looking into the values of different companies and different brands where they spend their money. And our eyes are being opened as to the values of many brands. And as a result, you as an influencer might find yourself wanting to break up with a brand because your values and that brand's values don't align. Either that brand might be a little too apathetic for your taste, or the brand has been outwardly, atrociously racist. So how do you break up with a brand? What do you do? In this video, you will learn what to look for in your existing contracts if you want to break up with a brand, and things to have in place before you sign with a brand so that you can break up with that brand if need be in the future. So here we go. So first, let's talk about your existing contracts. Number one, you want to look at the termination section. In other words, under what circumstances can a relationship be terminated? Most likely your contract will say something, but you also want to make sure and see what happens to any existing obligations if you terminate the agreement. And also, what happens to the money? If you terminate, you want to make sure that you're paid for work that you've done. Maybe you don't care, but it's worth looking at what happens to the money once the contract is terminated. Number two, in your existing contracts, if there's nothing there to guide you, then think about having a conversation. Even if they're staying silent on the issue, right? It's just a matter of you saying, look, I'm very passionate about X. You do not seem to feel the same way. We, as an influencer and brand, don't make sense. I don't see any reason to continue this relationship further. You never know where a conversation might get you. So protecting yourself in the future. In future agreements, things to look out for before signing your name on the dotted line. And you want to look at protection from, yes, your ability to break up with a brand if you don't jive with that brand any longer, but also protecting yourself from getting the axe under some unfair circumstances. So first, again, make sure that the termination section is there to protect you. You want to understand when it's okay for you to terminate, and understand what, if any, waiting periods apply if you want to terminate. Sometimes, for example, 30 days notice might be required. And then again, you want to understand what happens to any money they've paid you up front if you terminate. Next, consider a mutual morality clause. A morality clause is something that you find in a typical endorsement contract. Even before the age of Instagram and influencers, you'd see a morality clause. You think about this in the context of athletes more traditionally. What comes to mind for me? Tiger Woods and his whole cheating sex scandal thing. He lost $22 million in endorsements throughout the course of the year when all of that came out. It's meant to cover scandals and, quote, bad behavior. But again, we could argue that it would cover, quote, bad behavior on the part of a company or a brand. So if there's a morality clause that speaks to the influencer's behavior, turn that right around and make it mutual. Mutual meaning it goes both ways. The morality clause should go both ways in terms of objectionable behavior. Another kind of more creative option is to put in a clause that basically says, hey, I am an influencer, I talk on a number of things that I'm passionate about, and if there is a topic that I have posted about or spoken about before, then you cannot terminate this agreement based on me talking about that again. Don't know how it might be received. You may have posted about several different topics, and it's not the end-all be-all because that doesn't protect you from obviously talking about new passions, new interests, but it's something, it's an additional protection that you might think about and that you might float out there. Finally, in terms of protecting yourself in the future, do your due diligence. It's impossible to find out everything, but do your due diligence, look into a company before you sign with them, look into what people have said about them, look on Glassdoor to see what employees and workers have said about them, look on social media, see if anyone has had issues not only within the company itself, but maybe one of its products or services. Do due diligence, do due diligence. There's a tongue twister, huh? But look into a company before you sign. So you've got some things to look at in your existing contracts in terms of finding out when and how you can terminate under that contract, what happens if you do terminate. You can think about having those conversations with your contact at the brand if your contract is not clear. And then in the future, make sure that termination clause is there to protect you, and think about adding a mutual morality clause. Also consider that kind of more creative clause where you're saying, hey, if I have posted on any given topic before and I post about it again, that can't be grounds for terminating this agreement with me. So I hope that you have found this helpful in terms of breaking up with a brand and putting things in place to protect yourself before signing with a brand. If you are a blogger or podcaster, I have a great resource for you. It is Clear Legal Strategy for Influencers. If you go to spear-ip.com/influencer, you will get my free audio training. It is a download. Think of it as kind of a single episode podcast. You'll learn 4 frequently Googled topics that apply to influencers, and you'll have little action items at the end of each topic so that you can rest a little easier when it comes to the legal side of your business. Again, spear-ip.com/influencer.